The video is Leila Nishmas Shmo Bach and Chaim Tzvidoiv. Yesterday we left off with a cliffhanger, and maybe the most important cliffhanger that a human being has to think about all the time, as we said, at least once a day. So we left off with a question, and this question, as the question that we're dealing with, as we pointed out, is the most important question a human being is thinking and should be thinking. And the answer, of course, is therefore so vital. And this double question, the second question of what's the opposite of pain, happens to be the greatest, perhaps, pitfall that exists in humanity today, and always did. So let's explain. We discussed and we asked what's the purpose of creation, what's the reason why we're living, and we said, based on Meses Yesharim and Beinu Tam and logic too, outside external logic, and also based on Psukim, where in the Torah do we see clearly, straight pasuk, no hidden messages, that the purpose of why we were created and why Hashem gave us the Torah is for our own good. Anyone know the pasuk? This should be like Aleph base, and yet you ask most kids in high school, or even kids in elementary school, high school, or post high school, yeshiva. What's the purpose for the entire Torah, and where's the pasuk? And the answer is, we'll let you think about that. Let's see if anyone right away knows the pasuk. It's in Sefer Dvarim, and there's a Ramban in that. So we'll get back to that. Bli Nedo. In fact, it's also happened to be today. We're making a siyum Maseches Menachos at the end of Menachos also quotes this concept. So it's crucial to know the pasuk. It's 2 words, but we'll leave that for the thinkers. But getting back to the question. So number 1, as we said, our purpose in this world is for pleasure. Lisanig al Hashem. Just of course, as we're going to discuss, there's 5 levels of pleasure, and to be busy with the lowest level of pleasure our entire life, that's losing out. So, and now the second question we said is, what's the opposite of pain? So many of you got close, answered, didn't answer. The opposite of pain, if you ask most people, is pleasure. That's what they'll say, and it's wrong. The opposite of pain is no pain, or in what we could call comfort. And why is this so crucial is, let's think about this. If a person thinks the opposite of pain is pleasure, so in order to get pleasure, they will run away as far as they can from pain. Because if the opposite of pain is pleasure, then we don't want to get close to pain. But if the opposite of pain is just no pain, but pleasure requires pain. Pleasure requires effort. Pain is the price you pay for pleasure. And therefore, if a person knows this and it's so clear to them, so then when there's struggle, when a person gets married and they're walking into marriage with the expectation that things are just smooth and romantic and everything just falls into place and there's no work that has to be done and we don't have to work on ourselves, and it's just, that's the greatest danger. And the second there's effort and I have to work on myself, I have to change, that takes a lot of effort. And wait a minute, life is all about pleasure, and pleasure is the opposite of pain. That's why it's so dangerous. If a child is growing up with the idea that as long as you want pleasure, run away from pain and make it so easy and make sure that everything is taken care of, and if you need something, then ask the robot. The robot being mommy or daddy. And there's and really meaningful things where they require a lot of effort and pain, we run away from that. How is a child ever going to really experience true pleasure? That's why it's crucial to understand these 2 concepts. Number 1, the Rebbeinu Shem put us in this world for pleasure, but he said pain is the price you pay for pleasure. That's the mission of Pirkei Avos, the Fum Tzara Agra. And therefore the opposite of pain is not pleasure. The opposite is no pain. And it's a state of comfort, and it's a state where a person is really not growing. A person is really not gaining any pleasure. It's a danger zone. A day when we go through life and there wasn't effort and there wasn't struggle, so we have to thank Hashem, because the thanking of Hashem might be the greatest effort involved. But to think that that's going to give us the biggest dividends and the greatest growth and the greatest meaningful pleasure, no. So that's the first step in the 5 levels of pleasure that has to be so clear to us. Pain is the price you pay for pleasure. Effort is the key. And the goal of living is to experience levels of pleasure, and Mitzvah Hashem tomorrow we're going to discuss the 5 levels. Hatzlach, have an amazing day.